you guys filled a 500-person call center out here in, I think, Salt Lake City for Netflix, which is, what was it, like 3 months?
Yeah, as far as like staffing for the whole
Yeah.
company, yeah, it was about 3 months, and it was crazy, right? I mean, we created a brand new division because of that client. So at Prince Carlson, we never had a high volume division where we'd say high volume is anything 5 and over.
Yeah.
Like you get,
Yeah.
we need a class of like 5, 10 people, and so we've always kind of been where it's a little bit more specialized in the 1 to 2 or 3 here or there, for the
Yeah.
clients. But Netflix came on board, and this was several years ago. But they had heard about Prince Carlson, being a local firm, having really strong, just kind of name recognition, a good reputation in the market. They were building out a brand new contact center here in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And so they had contacted us. One of my other recruiters, she had taken the call, and they had reached out, and we had set up an on-site meeting, and they told us what they were looking for as far as, hey, we're building this out. It's going to be huge. Are you guys up to the task? And we're like, yeah, all hands on deck. So every single recruiter here at our company had a hand in filling some of the positions, from customer service to their tech roles to administrative roles to facility managers to call center managers, so forth, workforce management.
Yeah.
And so we identified, we had an on-site meeting with them, Ryan, and we just identified again, it was that, like, kind of what I said, it was just that formal, really intake. Why do people want to work here? I mean, they're Netflix. That's great. Like, everyone loves Netflix, but is the work culture the same as the product? And their culture is amazing. Very inclusive. They again, it was the perks. Obviously, you get free Netflix subscription. Cool swag, but just fun work culture environment. Like, it's just the on-site kitchen, fully stocked kitchen. I mean, fun parties. It was just so you go in there and it's like a party. Like, everyone's just chatting, fun atmosphere. And so that whole time was crazy because, I mean, it was several months. It was an ongoing account, but they're like, we need 500 people. We have 500 positions we need filled over this amount of time.
Crazy.
And so we created our volume division, or high volume here at Prince Carlson, and we had to bring other team members from other divisions and strictly recruit for this account.
Yeah.
And so that was we had to create interview sessions, something new to us. We were always about that quality, one-on-one, personal touch interview. Here it's like we brought all these people on site and did these huge 15 to 20 big interview sessions for these classes.
Big group.
And so what's that?
Big group presentation or group interviews.
Yeah, big group. Yeah, we did a presentation about Carlson, and then we did it about Netflix, and then we did assessments, that we send to the candidate and see if they met skill set, had the qualifications for the role. Netflix had a certain profile that they wanted to really Netflix embody who's going to fit within the Netflix culture. It was a really certain profile that really fit them. So we did probably about 3 to 5 of those big interview sessions weekly. Now that was here on site, and then we did big group online sessions as well.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the difference between group interviews, maybe via Zoom or face-to-face?
That's a good question too. That was a different time where, the interview session, like, I'm all about the one-on-one, like seeing people in person.
Yep.
I feel like you can really get a better feel for the candidate. You learn about, I don't know, but you just get more information from them.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead of behind a computer screen. So I prefer more of a one-on-one session like that.
Yeah.
The group interviews are a little bit tough when you're kind of going around and trying to get information from each candidate. I think you can really have some really thought out, open-ended questions from each candidate and then pick them out based on their answers and then do a one-on-one with them after kind of the informational session. But we've seen you can get through a lot more of the interviews kind of online or even phone interviews. I mean, phone interviews are solid as well. We kind of have a rotation right now where we're doing a lot of in-person, phone, and Microsoft Teams video interviews. So
did you have like a ton of like paid advertisements going in Salt Lake, and you're pumping those people into either face-to-face or Zoom groups? And like, how did you create so many leads in the system?
Yeah, so it definitely was a lot of paid advertisements. There was a lot of referrals too.
That's awesome.
It was like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
When one candidate, they're like, "Oh, you're interviewing for Netflix," they probably tell 5 to 10 friends, and then they're here in our office the next day. I mean, we had so many referrals from candidates that we didn't have to put out so many paid advertisements for just that account because of the name. It was that brand.
That's awesome.
And it went such a long way. So even with the mid to the management level, director level, it was that brand. We got a lot of referrals just because of that name.
That's huge. That's really cool. So paid advertisements, a lot of referrals on the front end because of the brand. Right. And organizations can't get there. They can build a good brand and kind of be able to get that leverage from people. Obviously, a Netflix kind of thing is different, but that should be a goal for everybody, is an amazing brand that makes recruiting and retention easier. So paid advertisements, referral, pumping people into group interviews every single day, Monday through Friday. And then would you pitch the dream, do whatever you do at the end of the presentation, and then funnel people into one-on-ones right after? Or when would you do the one-on-ones?
Yeah, so we pitch the dream, schedule those one-on-ones like right after. Obviously, everyone's not going to be a fit for the role. So you identify your paid candidate, set those up. I mean, we're trying to set those up like right after that meeting. Like you get that time set and scheduled, and then you do that one-on-one. Things go great. Get them over to the company. So it's a very speed impact process that you have to move on these candidates quickly.
Yeah, it happens quickly, right? You have your group interview, and just like a sales process, you don't want to set the lead for 4 days out. You want to get them like in and to the meeting ASAP, so you can close them down and get them into onboarding. So within recruiting, especially volume recruiting, you want the cycle to be quick. Last thing, and I know you probably have a really busy day, you mentioned something around assessments. Is there like specific assessments you like, or maybe like, what did Netflix use? Like, what do you think about assessments?
I think assessments are, depending on the position, right? And, we kind of like to mirror practices of kind of what our clients like to do, but we usually do, I think assessments kind of tell a lot about how engaged candidates are in the interview recruiting process, because a lot of clients will require basic office assessments. It could be a general office assessment. It could be an accounting software, Excel, a QuickBooks assessment. So that shows you of like, okay, is this candidate bought into this process? Like, are they bought into what I'm selling and getting them like an interview? And so I think it tells a story. If this candidate like, hey, part of our onboarding process is our client is requiring a beginner Excel assessment. We'll need to do this within 24 hours. Can you do that? And see if you get that done. If they don't, and then you follow up and check in where they at, and they're not bought in, so you kind of lose them and move on. But I think assessments are key. I think it tells a story. It shows that they're engaged, that they're bought into the process. But I think they're key. And I don't think you have to do assessments for all candidates, depending on maybe kind of the level of skill set and experience. But I think they're definitely important to have. And I mean, it could just be basic. It's a type test too. We have for clients.
The what? What was that?
So like a basic 10 key test or a basic type test. We have.
So it seems like you're not glued to just one type of assessment. It's based on the role. And it seems this is just an assumption. This has been my personal experience too with like assessments, is our model's group interviews, right? You guys do, more intimate process, although you've done the group interview for maybe more clients than Netflix. But what I've experienced is it's before we put the assessment in place, unless maybe the salary or the opportunity is just so sexy that you have leverage on the front end to make that the first step for the candidate. Our experience has been it's best that we pitch the opportunity and bring clarity to get them excited enough to get through the assessment, and then you do the one-on-one after. Is that kind of what you've experienced too, or do you like, if they apply, you're like, hey, do this and then we can talk?
Yeah, so kind of prior we've kind of learned through the process. So we would send they apply, send the assessment, schedule the interview kind of based off that. Kind of what we've learned is during the interview process, we'll let the candidate know to expect, hey, this, for this position they had applied for, this is the expectation for this role. You're going to have to do a beginner Excel assessment or whatever it may be. Can you please get that completed, within 24 hours so we can give you an on-site interview with this client and kind of move them through the onboarding process. So now we're giving them that leadway. Like we're telling them in the interview, like this needs to be done to kind of move forward to the next step.